Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond BMR. I am your host, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. This show goes beyond cryptids and Bigfoot. We take you down a much deeper rabbit hole. We talk about subjects beyond our very own realms and realities. We look at strange phenomena and the unexplained, such as time travel, aliens, alien existence, mysterious and strange places and hauntings. We focus on how all of these things come full circle. Tonight, from Monster Radio, we have Ryan Tremblay. We're talking monsters all night long. Could be a great show. I should be joined by text shortly. Subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, as well as Texas Front Porch, also found on YouTube. If you like our content, the super chat is open. That's right, the super chat's open. You can also find all of our content on the about pages of our channels. And once again, please subscribe. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, Texas Front Porch, again, on YouTube. We also have our lineup that I'm going to go over for you guys, as most of you are well aware. On Mondays is Texas Front Porch. That's at 7:30 in the East. Tuesdays is Van Buren Variety, 8 o'clock in the East. Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East. Jason McLean does something called Mysterious Library on Untold Radio AM at 10 o'clock in the East. Wednesdays, back with Jason McLean, Questions Everything, 9 o'clock in the East. Thursday afternoons, Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Robs at 1 o'clock in the East. Later on that evening at 9 in the East, the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. If you can't get enough of the booze, the Blondes, well, they bring the woo on Fridays, 9 o'clock in the East, the Blondes, the Booze, and the Woo. Don't forget our friend Jessica Jones. You can find her on Space Out Radio on the weekends at 10 o'clock in East, Saturday and Sunday. And she has her own channel, does some pretty cool stuff as well. And so, I'm waiting on text. I don't know. I've got Ryan out back. Text, I assume, is joining us. But I got to tell you, it's good to be back. I lost power for about 4 or 5 days. It was terrible. I couldn't do my brunch show, although Jason and Krista filled in and did a great job with Robbie Raines. So, yeah, we had 500,000 people where I live lost power. And good old BMR got a leak. I got a broken pipe. I don't have hot water in my bathroom. So I'm going through a bunch of stuff. The agent, the insurance adjuster can't get out till, I guess, Friday to give an assessment on the damage. So I got to make other arrangements to get a good hot shower. So it kind of sucks. But with that being said, enough of my woes. I just got a text here. All right, Tex will be joining me shortly. Well, with that being said, though, hello to everybody out in chat. We got the Blondes and Booze podcast in there. Phil Minerva, Pat Murphy, Glenn Dennison, Lily Pond, Shiro, Ashley Hill, Glenn Dennison, Sugar Britches, Duke, World Bigfoot Radio in the house. Go subscribe to Duke over there. Letitia Nunnally, Midwest Night Watchers. Be Kind, Christy Sci-Fi, hi Christy, Chiro Sounds. A few others scrolling down here. John Temprine, thanks for stopping in. Once again, I see Lily at the bottom. If I missed you, I am sorry. But we're going to get on with it. I'm going to bring up Ryan Tremblay here. Hey, Ryan,
what's
man.
What's up, Rob?
Hey.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey, well, you heard how it's going.
Mm-hmm.
You heard how it's going.
You had a hard time, Rob.
I tell you what, Michigan... Yeah, I tell you what, losing power, I've lost power in the summer. And in the summertime, you can deal with it, right? I mean, it's summer, at least at night, you're not freezing. I'd rather be hot at night than freezing my rear end off in the winter. It was 22 degrees at night. You can see the breath when I breathe. You can see my breath, the fog, the mist coming off. It was just terrible. 500,000 people lost power.
Oh,
all these trees, all these branches and all the trees, they got coated with ice and they weighed down the tree limbs. And so it took out all these lines, power lines. And then, I seen them land on top of cars on people's roofs. It was almost like it's a small tornado ripped through here. So I was dealing with some nasty stuff, and hopefully that's it.
Hopefully, goodness, man, that's enough.
And I see Tex down there. I'm going to bring him up here in just a second. And, and there's Tex right there. Brought himself
Hey,
up. Thanks,
Tex.
How's it going, Tex?
Howdy.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Tex. We were just talking about the power outage I suffered and all that. You heard it from me already. You heard my my tale of woes already, Tex. So I guess that's why you decided to wait. You didn't want to hear me whine about it. But it was awful. That's awful.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's thinking, stop whining, Rob. Stop whining.
Yeah, it's either that or just move down south. Then you have to deal with it. Then you got to deal with the tornadoes. I don't know what's worse. I watched some of these storm chaser channels, and I got to tell you, some of you people live in the tornado valley or the tornado belt. I don't know what's scarier. I really don't. I mean, yes, I've seen some horrific looking tornadoes on television.
Yeah,
can't imagine to see one live.
Yeah, I'm not messing with tornadoes, man. No way.
Yeah, and you live in Arizona, so what do you get? Like I seen Texas had the big windstorm, and with the sand was whipping up somewhere in Texas. I don't think.
Yeah, we get that too. It's not pleasant, but it's not as bad as snowstorms.
No, that looks kind of creepy though. How that sand just kind of comes in. It's almost like that movie, The Fog, but probably 10 times worse.
Definitely.
So. Last time you were on Brush with Bigfoot, that's maybe 6 months ago. Tex wasn't available. He was doing whatever he was doing. I know it was back when he was working days. And I think we touched a little Dogman and we touched a little Bigfoot, which we'll probably get into tonight. But what I love about Ryan, now those of you that know Ryan know this. Those of you that don't, Ryan from Monster Radio, Ryan Tremblay, you have a wealth of knowledge with a lot of these cryptids. Now, I named the show, you're welcome. I named the show Monsters with Ryan Tremblay. Now, again, I'm not saying suggesting cryptids are monsters, right? Whenever we see something that we don't know, we automatically call it a monster, something paranormal, especially people that aren't in the field like all us guys are, right? The studies and stuff. I'd like to touch on a few things before we get with that. Tex, would you like to make any opening announcements? You got anything to say to our illustrious crowd and guests?
We're planning another trip already. We've been getting some phenomenal evidence out in the field, and we hope to get some more. I've got a video ready to go. That is everybody asked me to do a daytime walkthrough on the cemetery. I did that. So we will be posting that after the show. I mean, we got, last time we went down there and we got handprints all over both trucks down at the bottom of the cemetery.
Nice.
And this time we pulled a handprint off the truck in the camp. And right below a lot of y'all heard last night, right below the handprint was a big old puddle of pee-pee.
Ooh.
Well. Did you get a chance to scoop it up, any of it?
No, I didn't scoop none up.
Well, I'm just asking, I don't know why.
I should have.
I was thinking DNA, but
I've got, what, we're trying to put together kits and stuff that we can properly do this stuff with. But hell, every time we go out in the field, we come up with something else. We got to, because I had the stuff to with, so I pulled the print off the car with the clear tape and bagged it. So we got that much done.
Very cool.
I don't know if you can even pull DNA out of urine.
I heard you can pull it out of water. How we were talking the other day about cryptid activity around streams. There's some way you can do it. I don't think we've got the tech. Us guys, not being scientists, we don't have access to that, I guess.
Not yet.
I mean, you're not yet, anyways.
But hopefully,
and of course, you can't send that out to nobody because you're just going to get lost mysteriously.
That's true.
Or they're going to send something back stating, letting your hopes down when they might have something and keeping it for themselves. You never know.
I still want to send something off to like 123 and me or whatever and see what it comes back. Oh, well, you got Neanderthal DNA. No kidding.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that one.
That'd be a good idea, though, Tex. That's actually a really smart idea.
I stumble across one every once in a while.
Yeah. Tex does, Tex does. He comes up with a zinger. And again, talk a little bit about that. And again, we're talking about, we all know about Bigfoot, Dogman, and we'll talk a little Brown Springs too a little later on in the show, Ryan. But since we got you to tap into your knowledge, I want to start with some of these cryptids that a lot of us are not familiar with. You and I were just talking backstage about a couple. In fact, I seen the posts on your Facebook group that I had no idea what these things were. And I forgot the name of the first one already. See, I'm already unfamiliar. What was that we were talking about just prior to you coming on?
The Knuckluck and the Gugwe.
Yeah, well, the Gugwe I've heard of. What's this Knuckluck? We'll get into all of this stuff tonight.
It depends on who you ask. I mean, some people will say the Knuckluck are a type of smaller Bigfoot, whereas other people will tell you they're a type of caveman. They look like Neanderthal cavemen running around naked. So they exist up in the Nahanni Valley. So I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to tell.
Okay, well, really, I'm sorry. Donnie's show kind of funny. Thanks, Donnie. I didn't know if my urine got my DNA, but definitely I know it got my funk. Okay, Donnie. Thank you. We appreciate that, Donnie, for the cool super chat to start the show.
That's nasty, bro.
Yeah, pretty much. That's Donnie's show. He's on a show with me and Jason on Wednesdays. He's talking about zingers. Donnie's got some zingers.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
he does.
So again, referring back to this Knuckluck, what was this is a cryptid of some sort, right? So
yeah, they're basically a subhuman species, basically a type of caveman that has made their homes up in the Nahanni Valley in Canada. And according to the legends, they live in the cave walls that dot the valley. And if you go into their territory, they react very, very aggressively. They'll even kill you for trespassing. And that sounds like a lot of the other Bigfoot that you hear people talk about. They say they look more human than they do ape. So there's got to be a connection there somewhere, right?
Yeah, I've
Go ahead,
here lately. I've had people question me about what I thought about the Gugwe and everything else. And of course, Duke's in chat, and I think he's about half Gugwe, but I don't know. Are they just in that area you're talking about? Or
I mean, that's where they're primarily seen. Yeah. And they're smaller than what normal people depict as Bigfoot. When you get a Bigfoot report here in the States, they're usually very, very tall, past 7 feet tall. These guys are supposed to be about 5 feet maximum. So they're the itty bitty Bigfoots.
So I know we've got some pretty raspy critters down in the Davy Crockett National Forest down here in the Big Thicket. I don't know if I lived down there, I'd be pretty raspy too, but
yeah, me too.
But I don't know if they're just in a bad mood down there, or if they just don't like us, or maybe they are. I don't know, because the reports I've heard down there, they're not as big, but I don't think they're that small.
Well, I mean, like 5 feet is pretty tiny. I mean, you think about everything we hear about Bigfoot, they're 7, 8, 9, 10, even 11 feet sometimes.
Right.
And then you get the 5-footers. You're like, why are they so small? But the aggression, though, Tex, I think really when it comes to them being so aggressive, it's the environment.
Yeah.
They probably don't come across food as often as the ones here in the States do. So when they come across a human, especially if that human's trespassing, they see enemy and they think food. This is a food source. So act aggressively, get it while you can.
Right.
It makes sense.
Well, and they're also called the face eaters, right?
That's the Gugwe. Yeah, the Gugwe are definitely known as the face eaters. That's a Micmac legend.
Right.
So
yeah, if I had my druthers, I'd rather not run across one of those.
Yeah, I want to see one, but from a far distance.
Yeah. Thanks, wink at me. She's keeping her pee.
No, you can have it.
Yeah, Thank you, wink at me. We appreciate that, you and Donnie. So these they're like the 5 foot. I was in chat for a little bit. They're 5 foot, like a Bigfoot type creatures. Then I guess.
Yeah.
What they look like? They look like a hominid. They have the facial features of like the human, or just describe how they've been described.
Well, look at the faces. They're more like the cavemen, but they get the long hair. And sometimes they're even seen wearing loincloths made from like moose fur or whatever. So they even carry clubs, according to some legends. So that's something to really think about, because can Bigfoot use tools? Why can't they?
See,
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite Bigfoot movies
Mm-hmm.
is Primal
Rage.
Primal Rage, because these things have been around us for thousands of years.
Yes.
And supposedly we even traded with them,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. Why is it so out of, and if they're half as intelligent as we give them credit for,
Mm-hmm.
why would it be so hard to believe that they do use tools when monkeys use tools, birds use tools? I mean,
right. And if they've been around us, they would learn from watching us. Correct.
Right.
It's literally a case of monkey see, monkey do.
Exactly.
They found orangutans that were using sticks to spearfish. So if orangutans can do this, or gorillas can use rocks to defend themselves, Bigfoot should be able to use tools no problem. It's common sense.
Yeah, I've always
I don't
thought
know.
that.
No, I think it varies from region to region, clan to clan, whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
I would have to think that all Bigfoot. I'm just going to put a blank. Donnie Show, thanks again, brother.
Good
Donkey
grief.
Kong. Donkey Kong's his favorite Bigfoot video game. So I would think they'll cross the board, Ryan, and most of Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I'm random statement. I think they all probably use tools.
They would have to. If they're going to survive. Yeah, if they're going to survive, Rob, they would have to. Because you can't live out in the wild and not know how to use tools at all. You need to learn how to cut down trees, how to take down prey, how to build traps, build shelters. It's common sense that they know how to use something.
I don't think it would be a real far stretch that they use fire in some regions.
Yeah, and maybe they'd have to use it in some place that's closed off, so we don't see them.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's a probability to do. Yeah.
And even if you go back to like First Nations, you go back 1800s, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
If you read the stories, the natives, they actually communicated with Bigfoot. Now, I'm not saying mind speaking all this stuff. I'm just saying they traded and bartered with them in some of the stories, tobacco, and such, and tools, right? And that just shows an intelligence right there that until all of a sudden, I guess this communication has stopped that we know of, right? Because let's face it, back in the 1800s, a lot of people, human beings, they bartered, they traded goods.
Yes.
Why not a Sasquatch? Especially since supposedly back in the 1800s, 1900s, they were friends with each other, right?
Right.
Allies.
Well, in some tribes, they thought of them as the mortal enemies.
Generally speaking, and some were enemies and some weren't, right?
Right. Well, I mean, we can loop that right back to the Gugwe, the original tales, when they called them the Gugwe. The Gugwe were said to build traps for the kids. They would actually dig holes and dig, different ditches to trap the little kids that were roaming about to snatch the kids and go eat them later. So if they're digging traps, they know how to use tools. That's common sense right there.
It is, and then one could suggest they just use their hands, being so big and powerful. But but I'd have to imagine, and Texas isn't here right now, but when it comes to these structures, either you're for it or you're not. I think like a lot of these smaller structures we see, I have questions on those. But when you see some of these structures that are 20 feet, 30 feet tall, like you see up in the mountains, actually out where Duke lives, right?
Right.
The way the intricacies of these, how they're woven together, I think that's both by hand, and they've probably fashioned some sort of tool.
Oh, they would have to.
Together. You have to.
Yeah, you would absolutely have to cut down those trees. You can't just go around breaking trees by hand and not get tired. They're going to have to cut them down at some point. So, I mean, the use of tools is something I do believe in. I do believe that Bigfoot knows how to use different weaponry and knows how to use tools to dig ditches and how to fish and whatnot. So it's not far-fetched.
So you said something very interesting I really haven't heard of. I mean, maybe I have, but I just kind of dismissed it maybe just a little bit. You're talking about the Bigfoot back in the day trapping children and perhaps eating them. Do you really think, because I know a lot of people whole lot of people in chat room, a lot of people might get a little bit ticked off at this statement. I'm not going to suggest they're all the friendly forest giant. I believe that there's good people, there's good and bad cryptids. I'm not going to make a blanket. I'll just say blanket cryptids, good and bad, humans, good and bad, etc., etc. You really think, though, in the day that humans were actually eaten by these cryptids?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the stories that some of them told, I mean, you get all these different names, Rob. You have the Zuniqua, Genosqua. And if you look at those stories, each one tells of how these things used to hunt human beings. The Zuniqua was a basket woman that used to come down from the mountains and steal kids that were misbehaving. She would steal them and put them in a basket and then bring them back to her lair and eat them. You know, the Genosqua, stone giants, they were known for attacking villages. They would whistle when they were on their way to these villages to let the braves know, here we come. That's how brazen these things were. And they just enter the village and it would take men, women, children, and cannibalize them, essentially.
You got to wonder if that's where the Krampus legend came from.
Maybe, but I mean, there's something to it. And to think that all of them are going to behave exactly the same way like they do in Harry and Henderson's, I think we're making a mistake. You know, because they're out in the wild. I'm not saying they're animals, so nobody come at me with that. But they're in the wild and they have to survive, okay? And they see what we as humans do. We're cutting down trees. We're doing all kinds of messed up stuff. They may see us as enemies for some of them. You know, they may see humans come in and go, oh, those are bad guys. Get rid of them. Not all of them are going to be gentle.
Yeah. Yep. And you mentioned the different tribes, much like there's native tribes that resort to cannibalism. I'd imagine there's Bigfoot tribes that are cannibals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, if you talk to Kat Hansen, she'll tell you that the Gugwe and the patty type Bigfoot, they hate each other. You know, if the Gugwe come in, the patty type will get the hell out of there because they don't want to mess with them because they're so dangerous. So there's something to stories and there's something to names. This is what I tell a lot of people. When you're looking at the different names for Bigfoot, look at what the name means. You know, because the name will tell you how they thought of them. Like Skookum means mountain devil. You know, why do they call it mountain devil? Not because it was gentle, right?
Mm.
Well, you know, and that also leads right into a lot of the places that we hear about, Devil's Pass,
yes,
you know, Booger Creek, and all these kind of stuff. You have to wonder, you know, back in the day, why did they name these things that? There had to be a reason.
Right, exactly.
Let me ask you this. Now, I know this is off topic, but let me ask you this. Have you ever heard of anybody with the last name of Lycan, spelled Lycan?
And no.
There is a town in Kansas, I believe, that I drove through called Lycan. It is named after a school teacher.
Whoa.
That was her last name.
Wow.
Whoa.
Now, it is a ghost town. Pretty much.
Interesting.
Yeah. I saw that. We drove through there and I saw the sign and went, whoop. My wife's like, what are you doing? I've got to go check this out.
Wow. You should deep dive that text. Maybe there's something to that.
I can't find a whole lot of information on it.
None?
All I can find out is it was named after a school teacher.
That even adds more to it, man. If you can't find something on it, there's something to that text. That's very odd.
That is odd.
That's got the hairs on the back of my neck going woo, woo, woo. I'm going to have to look into that now. Exciting.
I'll tell you what. Why don't we tag team this? You and me, us, and DA. We bound to find out something.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Let's do it. I'm for it.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
And what about if you found the last name Lycanthrope, Dr. Lycanthrope?
Oh, I'd be like, here, Tex, it's all you. You can go ask about that, man. I'll be over here. Loading the silver bullets, just like, yeah, I got silver bullets. You good?
So since we're kind of,
you know what? I've actually got a friend of mine
that
does reloads and made me some with silver nitrate in them.
So you're set then.
Yeah.
Now, see, I made that joke, and I'm the guy without silver bullets. Tex has them, so I just kind of screwed myself here, man. That's wish I had seen that one coming.
So since we're on the subject now, talking silver bullets, lycanthropes. Now we know there's Dogman, and there's a variety of dogmen, from what I understand and heard and been told.
I'll be right back, guys.
Okay, Tex. Do you believe in the theory? Do you believe that there are werewolves, or that they existed And I know that a lot of it is mythology. We've all seen Lon Chaney. In fact, it's funny, Ryan. I know that you're just a monster fan because I was going over your Facebook. I mean, you got
Oh yeah.
I seen some Creature of the Black Lagoon. It's not just our everyday cryptids that we all are into, but even back Frankenstein. Growing up, man, Lon Chaney, Boris Karloff, my dad, Bela Lugosi. That's what I started out with as a little kid for my dad, and that kind of thrusts me down monsters, right?
Yep.
And of course, in 2018 had a Bigfoot encounter, which totally changed my view on monsters. Of course,
Yeah.
But
and speaking of the creature, though, rest in peace to Rico Browning, the man who played the creature from the Black Lagoon. We lost a legend today.
Oh, wow. And I heard, I don't know how true this is, that the dead body on the, if you remember in the Creature from the Black Lagoon, the corpse that was on, that they were operating on in the autopsy room was Clint Eastwood's first role. He played a corpse in the Creature from
he
the
actually
Black
played
Lagoon.
2 roles in that. He played 2 roles. He played the body and he played a student that you see for just maybe about 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because the other thing that I was into growing up was Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns. So anyway,
it was a very young Clint Eastwood. He doesn't even act like the Clint Eastwood. Yeah,
no, he was just like, hey, dude, let's stand it when you want to, get this little roll and off you went.
Yeah, there was none of that raising his eyebrows or deep.
Yeah, no,
there was none of that yet.
He was pretty much stone cold dead for one scene, and I guess I got to rewatch that now and see him as the student. But
it's just a very brief one.
10 seconds.
He's looking for a rabbit that escaped, and then that's it. He finds a rabbit, and off he goes, and you don't see him again.
All right, well, cool. Well, getting back to the werewolf. Now, I was talking about mythology. Now, some mythology, though, there's always the reason for mythology, though, which I believe is a lot of these things, they're not like they're made up. These stories just did not come up because somebody had a great imagination. There has to be something, right? So when we go back to the legend, the myth of the werewolf, what's your honest opinion? You think that they existed back then? And if so, do they exist today, do you think?
I used to not believe in the whole werewolf mythology. I thought it was just Dogman being mistaken for the werewolves. But after studying the skinwalkers to the degree that I have, there is something to shapeshifting. Okay. And so I do think that werewolves might have very well been real at one point in time. Do I think they exist now? I don't know. I don't think so, because I mean, the human body shapeshifting and going back into human form, how many times can they survive that? And so I don't know. I mean, could it be Dogman and werewolves are the same? Possibly. Do I think the old school werewolves still exist? No.
Yeah, just the physiology. I mean, I believe that perhaps it's more feasible if, as a human being, you shapeshifted or you turned into a werewolf, and that's it. You're not going to regain your human form. That I could maybe see, right? But you never know. It's always an interesting thing because a lot of people.
Rob, the whole werewolf mythology, it's really been so convoluted and diluted down that it's ridiculous. A lot of people think that the only way to kill a werewolf is a silver bullet. That's not true. That's not true at all. I mean, there's an old tale where if you actually walked up to a person who was a werewolf and you smacked him on the head with a dagger made of silver, that cured the curse of the werewolf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there was a lot more to the whole curse of the werewolf than people actually talk about these days.
Just like the vampire, the old stake through the heart, which was in the beginning. And then as time goes on, then not only are you going to stake them in the heart, but you're going to cut off their head.
Right. Right.
And all this. Donnie Cho, thank you for the super chat once again. Donnie Cho's on fire with the super chats. I appreciate that, Donnie.
Donnie.
And the difference between Dogman and werewolves got day jobs. Once again, Donnie's got to start his own show, the Donnie Cho Show, and bring it on with movies and comedy. I think Donnie's just he always has a zinger. Thanks, Donnie. I really appreciate it.
Donnie better bring me on if he does that.
Yeah, absolutely. Donnie's a good guy. You can see Donnie on Wednesdays with me and Jason when we do Jason McLean questions, everything. Cool guy. Love you, Donnie. Thank you. That's 3 times I've been taken off track now with Donnie's and also the other super chat we got earlier from I gotta write it down. I'll get you back here in a minute. Beautiful super chats. Thanks, everybody. So, anyways, where are we? We're talking the werewolf here. Okay.
Talking werewolves. Yep. There's Tex.
There's text right there. Hedging back, then we'll get a little more into the Dogman thing here. So we're kind of the werewolf we just went over.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Dogman. Now we've heard about the bipedal Dogman. It looks like a dog. Looks like a German Shepherd standing on hind legs, perhaps hawk. I've heard those stories, and they're thin. They're not these big, robust beasts, or maybe 6 foot, 5.5, 6 foot.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks like a dog, right?
Yeah.
You've got the ones that I'm really fascinated with. And I know Tex, I don't know if Tex heard your Dogman encounter. Maybe we'll get into that too today. But what do you think
the hyena
about
type?
Yes, that was this cool story. I don't think Tex heard that one, but what do you think about these bioengineered dogmen that the government supposedly has built underground?
Well, I think it makes for a really good story. But here's my question, though. To create something like that would cost millions and millions and millions of dollars, okay? It's not going to be cheap to create a weapon like this. So if the government's making them, why would they just let them go and never worry about where they are? It's their weapon. It's their project. They're going to want to keep tabs on this sucker and know where he's at all times and make sure nobody sees it. So if we were to see them, it's a top secret thing that we're seeing, okay? Think about the James Bond movies. When you saw something top secret, what happened to you? You get killed, right? So would the government let us just get away with seeing these projects? No, I think these things have their own origin. It doesn't have anything to do with humans tampering with them.
So do you think, though, that the government is working on a super weapon, maybe not such a Dogman? Because you got to remember, they just spent $464,000 on a missile that missed the balloon over Lake Huron. You know that the government's got money to spend, but to your point, though, if a human being were to see a government-created weapon, yes, I think that the human being would be extracted. Yeah. And perhaps it's part of 411, though, right?
I mean, it could be, but also would they want us talking about it so often? I think all these Dogman researchers, myself included, if they were really government projects, the government would be like, hey, these people are getting too close to finding out our secret. You guys got to go do something about this. And I don't think they'd be so subtle about it. Do I think the government's working on weapons, though? Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't they? There's always that threat of war. They want to stay on top of the game, right?
Yeah, and I just heard this oddball theory, and I shouldn't say oddball, you guys. I shouldn't say that, but I just thought, wow, I never heard this theory. I heard that the government was behind creating in our national parks and forests and these labs creatures to actually fight. Now, again, this is what I heard. The current dogman that are roaming our national parks to extinguish them. I always thought perhaps we use black ops. Now, that seems like kind of a far-fetched theory, but I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
It seems a little far-fetched, but you want to know where that comes from, Rob? That actually does have some truth in it. If you go back to the days of the Ozark Howler, Theodore Roosevelt actually set land aside for the Ozark Howler.
Okay.
In fact, he believed in this thing so much, that thing almost became our national animal. The bald eagle was almost going to be pushed out for the Ozark Howler. So, yeah, there were presidents that were setting land aside for things like Ozark Howler, Bigfoot, things like along those lines. So could something similar still be happening? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's we've heard about him setting, that was the whole idea behind the entire national parks thing.
Yep.
Was to give these creatures their space so they wouldn't be molested by us and vice versa.
Right. Some of these
and it is odd when you see certain parks closed down for whatever reason. And I know they have to do maintenance on these parks. I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that, especially if you got cliffs around and stuff, they have to blast them every once in a while.
Yeah, and you can't have humans nearby when you're doing that.
Right. But that is an awful easy excuse if you've got something being raspy in there and you got to go in and take care of it.
That's true.
Shut the park down and go in and take care of business and come back out.
That's
and I
true.
think that does happen. From time to time.
Well, I think it could. I'll definitely agree with you on that, Tex. I think every once in a while I get one of these Bigfoot or these dogmen that get a bit too rowdy. So, the government's like, oh, go take care of that one before he kills any more people. Or maybe, it doesn't even start where he's killing people. Maybe he's killing off, wildlife that's there, somebody's farm animals. You never know.
Well, I'm a firm believer that all these damn bear attacks and cougar attacks ain't what they seem to be.
I could probably stand with you on that one. Yeah.
There's a did you ever hear about that case in Lipan, Texas that happened about a year or so ago?
Which one?
This guy was walking to work, and he always took a shortcut through the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he went missing. They found him like the next day or so, and he had his throat ripped out and scratches on the body.
Ooh, no, I did not hear about that one.
And the sheriff's department, the wildlife, the game warden, and their civilian tracker, and the justice of the peace showed up to the scene. And the justice of the peace determined the cause of death.
Huh.
The ME didn't show up because it's a rural county. Blah blah blah. So I didn't know they could do that, but I guess they can.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Wow.
So anyway, the sheriff's department and the justice of the peace said it was a big cat. Now this is all in the paper. This is what blew me away. This is all in the paper. The game warden and the civilian tracker that they contracted said there was no sign of a cat. This was not a big cat attack.
Ooh.
They disagreed.
Oh.
And I have a friend of mine, his daughter actually talked to the game warden.
Mm-hmm.
And he told her that this was not a big cat attack, but they could not say what it was.
Whoa. That definitely makes you think.
Yes, it does. And the investigation was closed, and I do believe the body was cremated.
Thank you, Lily Pine.
So those type of things, and Jessica Jones actually remote viewed this, and she got more of a cat vibe out of it. Now, I'm not opposed to there being cat men or cat people out there, no more than I am, dog
the way I look at it, Tex, I mean, you have the lizard man, you have Dogman, you have the Mothman. Seems like there's almost every variable of man out there. You got so many.
I know, right?
Could there be some kind of feline species out there? I don't see why not. A lot of people talk about a feline extraterrestrial species.
Yep. Thank you, Brenda. And who else was that? I'm sorry. Dadgummit. I get wrapped up in this conversation, man, and it's hard for me to keep track of anything else.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's just, it boggles the mind when you really start thinking about it, what all could be out there.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. I mean,
like I
the
keep
normal
saying,
things we talk about are Bigfoot and Dogman. We don't really, you don't really hear a lot of people talk about the cat person or whatever.
No. And I do think there is something to that though, Tex. I mean, all these extraterrestrial encounters, people do say that it was like feline, like it had the feline features and it, ran on all fours for a moment like a feline. I mean, it's definitely possible. I learned not to ignore anything. After researching Wendigo and skinwalkers to the degree I have, I'm just going, you know what? Anything can exist these days.
It's like the old saying goes, anything's possible. It doesn't matter how probable it is, it's possible.
Right. And until you can actually solve the mysteries on your own, you can't say, no, that's not possible.
Exactly.
Tex always hates when I say this, but I tend to believe everybody's story.
Well, I think
and that's why I have an open mind. That's why I get inundated with all these emails and pictures, and I'm like, okay. And I say, yeah, but I will say this, I do have skepticism in a positive way, right? I really try
Rob?
to debunk things.
It's good to have a healthy dose of skepticism. You absolutely have to have that in this field. Because if you believe everything, every picture, every story, every tale that you hear, you're never going to get anywhere. Okay. You're just going to buy into everything. You're not going to know where to look for the facts.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree. And I think it's different too. Like we've all had experiences, I'm so used to telling my story that I can tell it. Thank you, Anella, very much. Thank you so much for the super sticker.
Wow.
Thank you, darling.
Great.
Y'all
Thanks
are
to
so
everybody
y'all
else.
are being so generous tonight. I just
Yes.
it's blowing me away. This is
Blowing me away. It's taking me off my game, Tex. I'm
You
I
got
missing
some
know.
my
good
train of
people up
thought.
in here, man.
We got great people. There's Donnie Joe with another one. My Lord. Thank you so much.
Cat women, on the other hand, I feel you, Donnie. I feel you.
Oh yeah, you got to read Donnie's. I'm sorry. I accept Dogman, but I refuse to believe cat men. Cat men on the other, cat women on the other hand. Yes, again, Donnie. Love you, Donnie.
I've seen some depictions of both that they're not bad looking.
Yeah, no, they're not. Oh,
That's
Lordy.
funny.
Again, thanks
Well, I
to
mean,
everybody
you got the Otter Man. You got and it's like
Frogman.
yeah,
Mhm.
well, yeah,
Okay.
and
Can I ask a quick question, Tex, before we continue? And Ryan, Dogman, Otterman, Skunkman, Ape Man, Wolfman, are there? Come on, really? Do we have to put a stop at some of these, or but if people are reporting them, right, you can't turn a blind eye, though, right?
You know what I think we need to do? I think we need to actually question the people a bit more closely. We need to see if they really were otter men and cat men, or if they had something more in line with something that we already kind of charted. Because I think there's a lot of confusion going on, and I think we're creating too many monstrosities out there where cryptozoology is becoming so muddled that even us researchers don't know where to look anymore.
yeah.
You know, I mean, like Owlman, like somebody mentioned in the chat, Owlman's another name for the Mothman. So you see where things get really intersected and they get confused. You know, we got to stop doing that so much because nobody's ever going to take us seriously if we're always making these superhero-like names.
Yes.
It's
and you have to wonder, like the Otter Man, some of the maybe the cat and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Are they? Could they be? I even hate to use the term misidentified, because could they be misidentified as other cryptids?
Yeah, I think they could. I really do. That's something I was touching on Facebook, and I know I don't see you on Facebook text, but I was talking about Gugwe and devil monkeys, how maybe devil monkeys are juvenile Gugwe, because they're smaller. They look very similar in appearance, so maybe they're just juveniles. We don't have, devil monkeys running around, but baby Gugwe. Now, the Otterman, though, I will say the Otterman is also known as the Kushtaka. Inuit legend right there.
I think Donnie's just throwing out these $5 super chats, get his jokes read off. You know what Nephilim are, right, man?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get to that point pretty soon where we're going to have, like, man this, man that. And what are we studying now?
It's just...
I mean, is it should we start just calling them all man beast? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, probably. That probably would save us a lot of time.
Just your average everyday creatures of the park, not including bear, wolves, coyotes, all the others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. It's crazy.
And somebody mentioned the Frogman,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Ashley Hill. There's a Frogman festival this weekend in Mason, Ohio.
That's my co-host. That's my co-host right there. That's Ashley. Hi, Ashley.
Oh, that's the golden voice.
Yeah.
Man, she's got it going on.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
I was listening to one of your shows, and it was the first time I'd ever heard her, and I went, "Wow!" Dad gum. She's got a voice.
See what she looks like, though. She's got the looks to go with that voice.
Oh, I'd be in trouble.
Monster Radio, everybody. If you have not subscribed, go subscribe. I think Be Kind, or I think Lily Pond did drop the link earlier. But yeah, Monster Radio, Ryan Tremblay, and the talented Ashley. Hi, Ashley. Thanks for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and I wonder, we had the whole thing, what was it, a few years ago, when, was it a town in South Carolina that came out?
Man.
Yeah, the Lizard Man, and they warned against the blood moon or something.
Yes. They say
And
when the
then they
blood
said it
moon
was a
comes out
joke.
that the lizard man comes from the swamps and is roaming the town.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then they wrote it off as a joke. But it
Mhm.
was their emergency department that put it out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, something that's funny about that story text is a lot of people will tell you the story about the Davis kid when he was chased by the lizard man at night. And they'll tell you the whole scary story of how it tried to get in the car, how he had to swerve the car to get it off the hood. But what they don't tell you is that the town sheriff, actually backed up this kid. He actually saw the damage that this lizard man had done to the car. And he told everybody, this kid was not lying. I've seen everything for myself. He didn't do this to his car. Something was out there that night. Something attacked his car. He is telling the truth. Now, for a lawman to do that, even on TV shows, Tex, there's something behind that.
And I think so too. You know, I mean, it's we just it baffles me that mainstream media is still they'll put these reports out there, but they'll laugh about them, they'll laugh them off, even with these people that were terrified of what would happen or possibly injured, and you know, they laugh about it.
I think because to them it sounds too fantastical, and I can't readily blame them, Tex. I mean, try to put yourself on the outside. Like if you hadn't studied this stuff and you heard about a lizard man or a frog man, your first response might be like, you know, oh, what? What are you guys smoking over there? You know,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I guess I see where you're coming from. I guess it's hard to remove yourself, you know, and look on the from the outside.
It can be, yeah.
You know, and I try to do that. I really do. I guess it's just one of my.
I get your point too.
It just bugs the living crap out of.
This has become a way of life for me, for you, for Rob, for Duke, for Ashley. So to us, it's the normal. It's the norm. It's the everyday thing. But for the people that aren't into this, it's something they only see in movies or they read in books. So to them, it's fantasy. It's understandable to a degree, but I understand your point too, very much.
It's a great point too, because I remember, like I said, when I was growing up, I was brought up on the monster movies. The Lon Chaney, and it kind of extrapolated until the other monster movies that came out as you got older. The graphics got better, the comic books got better, movies got better, and I had an open mind as a kid. I knew about Bigfoot as a kid, but that was probably it. And I kind of figured aliens existed. It wasn't anything, and I read a lot of books on it, but life goes on. I got married and this and that, and I had a regular 9-to-5 job like most of us have, but it's not something I studied, not to mention the wife was not into it at all at the time. But then when I just came across one, man, the fiction went to fact. It became from a knower, a knower of what goes on now.
And I think that's what happens to a lot of us, Rob, is like, for me growing up, I used to read like Werewolf by Night. And my dad, who grew up Cajun, he used to tell me, you shouldn't be reading that. There's such things as werewolves. And I always just kind of dismissed him, going, yeah, whatever, Dad. It's all in the movies and the comic books. They're not real. But, once you have your own encounter, then like it's that smack in the face where you're going, oh my God, these things are real. There are monsters in our world. This wasn't a joke. So, I mean, I think that happens to a lot of us.
It does. And, we take a break about the 52-minute mark. And I know Tex has probably not heard about your encounter with the hyena in back of the garbage can, if I'm correct, right? Or
it was my friend's backyard. My friend's backyard.
Well, people haven't heard your encounter story. You got enough time, about 6 minutes, if you want to run us through that. It's really cool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I was asked to house sit my friend's home while he and his wife went on vacation. And, small town in Arizona and being close friends, I was like, sure, absolutely, bro. And I got into a routine where I would check morning, noon, and then midnight would be my last time checking in per day. So one night, it was midnight, it was cold night. I'm walking up and I hear the coyotes in the distance. They're sounding really, really anxious. They didn't sound like the normal coyotes that I hear. They sound very nervous. I still didn't really think anything of it. So I'm making my way into the backyard of my friend's house. And he's got a very large backyard that goes, ends into like a hill where the foothills go up. And as I'm walking, I hear something kind of keeping in time with me. Like I can hear the loud thump, thump, thump of the footsteps. And I'm not really making anything of it at this point. But then I start thinking maybe it's a vagrant, a homeless guy. You know, so me being the short dude I am, I'm only 5'10", Tex. I'm like, you know, I'm a short guy, so I'm like, hey, trying to scare whoever's out there. And there's no response at first, so I'm thinking, you know, I'm the cock of the walk. It worked, and I'm still walking to the backyard. I hear noises again. So this time I'm kind of getting aggravated. I'm getting a little annoyed. I'm like, hey! And this time I get a very deep in response, and I'm going, oh God, is there a bear back here? Is there a mountain lion back here? Because I'm unarmed. If there's a bear or a mountain lion, I am going to die. You know, so I'm thinking the worst at this point. But I just, you know, I keep going into the backyard, think I can find shelter in the backyard. Well, as I get into his very backyard, I see something in silhouette, and I can see it moving, and it's on all fours. But as I get into the very back, the security lights turn on. And when the security lights turn on, I see it hitting the eyes, and it's got the amber glow. And that's when this thing on all fours, Tex, stands up on two legs. And it reaches up, and it grabs a branch on a tree, and it's just like it's staring at me. And I'm staring at it. And I can see in the light, this thing looks like a hyena. Yeah, so I'm standing there looking at this going, why is there a hyena in my friend's backyard? And why is this hyena bipedal? You know, so we're staring at each other for a moment. And this thing rushes forward about 3 feet and just stops. It drops all fours for a moment and then goes back to two legs again. And I can see its ears going up and down, and it's tilting its head side to side. You know, so I did not move. I'm frozen in place. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to sneeze. I'm not going to cough. I'm not going to breathe because I'm afraid of this thing. And we just keep staring at each other. And it seemed like an eternity went by, Tex. It seemed like, you know, years went on.
Yeah. And
then finally it starts backing up real slowly. And I'm still not moving. I'm not running. I'm not taking off. I just watch it back up, turns around, and it walks away. And I can hear it kicking rocks, breaking twigs. And once it's in the darkness, that's when I was like, I'm out, and I ran into my friend's house. I'm locking the doors. I'm bolting the windows. I'm looking for his knives. I call him up, and I sounded like a crazy man, Tex. I'm like, hey, yo, bro, there's a hyena in your backyard. And he's like, there's a hyena in my backyard. Ryan, what is wrong with you? I'm like, nothing's wrong with me. Something's wrong with you. There's a hyena in your backyard. And so he came home. The next morning, we did go out there. We could see where the thing's claws were digging in the dirt. So, and that sparked me to start looking for these hyena things where I live right now.
And that's a perfect way to end it there, because we got to go out and take our 5-minute break. C. Campbell, thank you. C. Campbell, thanks for that super chat just popped up. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Monster Radio's Ryan Tremblay. Great show. Thanks to everybody for joining in. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thanks.
All right.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. .3 minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. We have an awesome show. Ryan Tremblay, Monster Radio. Go subscribe. Go check him out. He's got great material over there with Ashley. Just a fantastic show. Couple shout outs for the great super chats. Thanks. We appreciate your support. C. Campbell, Anella, Wink at Me, Brenda, Lily Pond, Margie O, Donnie Cho 4 times. Thank you ever so much for that. We appreciate your support of our channel. And those of you that could like, share, subscribe, help us grow, we appreciate that. And again, we are very humbled at your support with the super chats. Thank you ever so much. Don't forget, Mondays is Texas Front Porch at 7:30 in the East. Tuesdays is Van Buren Variety, 8 o'clock in the East. This show, Beyond BMR, at 9 o'clock in the East. Jason McLean does something at 10 o'clock in the East. It's called Mysterious Library on Radio AM. So go check out Jason or go check out the archives. If not, great show by Jason. Jason McLean comes back on Wednesdays at 9 in the East with myself and Donnie Cho with Jason McLean Questions Everything. We're doing a series on the Nephilim. It's pretty cool. Come check us out. Thursdays, right back, brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. Later on in the evening, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, 9 o'clock in the East. Fridays, if you want a little more woo with the booze, the Blondes and the Booze and the Woo, that's at 9 o'clock in the East. Jessica Jones on the weekend, Spaced Out Radio, Saturday and Sunday. Go check her out, 10 o'clock in the East. And speaking of Spaced Out Radio, Dave Scott's Spaced Out Radio second annual fan party taking place in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Golden Nugget Hotel, May 19th through the 21st. If you care to go check that out and see all the high strange people down there, and let me tell you, they're strange. Go check them out. For details, you can go to the Bigfoot Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob page on Facebook. Tex also has a new Facebook out there simply called Texas Front Porch. Go check him out. Please subscribe to Texas Front Porch. For you new folks, it's TEX_S Front Porch. Subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. Subscribe to the Blondes and Booze podcast. Check out Jason McLean over at the Zero Papers. World Bigfoot Radio. He's in the chat. Love him. Go subscribe to Duke if you have not already. And of course, once again, Ryan with Monster Radio. Again, thanks for the super chats. Fantastic show. I'm going to bring up Tex and our guest. Hey, welcome back, Tex and Ryan. Ryan, fantastic show. Thank you so much for joining.
My pleasure.
You know, I always say this, but when I mean it every time I say it, but we do have good guests on our shows across the board, I have to admit. But I love when you come on because you bring a different perspective to a lot of these things. You
Thank
know, you a lot of different insights that I learn something new from you every day, and it's one of the reasons I like to learn as I go as well. And I follow your Facebook page. You have a lot of cool stuff on that, and I appreciate you. And thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, I appreciate you, Rob. Thank you.
So we were just ending your encounter, which I don't think Tex heard.
Mhm.
And so Tex, what was your thoughts on that, man? I know you're the man with your couple encounters. Is there ring any of that resonate with you?
Wait,
A little
though,
bit,
before we
yeah.
get
Wait,
into that,
Ryan's not done yet.
I got something to show you guys. I haven't showed this to anybody but
Okay.
Ashley. So, as you know, I'm a Dogman researcher. I'm active in the field. And
Yes.
Tex, you didn't get to hear this part. I was telling Rob last time, but during one of my investigations, I had come upon a field place in the desert where somebody had dug a staircase with mud, made a staircase with mud that led up to a platter filled with fruit, with different kinds of fruit, pineapple, grapes, all this kind of stuff. And it was there numerous times. I kept going back. Now, mind you, Tex, this is about 3 or 4 miles into the desert, so it's pretty far off. There's no homes around it. So
What'd you do, Rob?
so I left a note one day asking them, what are you guys feeding? Is it deer or whatever? Well, I got a most interesting response text. There was a note with a drawing left. And check this out. Feast your eyes upon this, ladies and gents.
Wow.
They were feeding these things. And they tell me right in the note that there's 3 of them.
Oh,
Wow.
What does that look like to you guys?
That looks like what you just described.
Yeah,
yes, it does.
to a T.
Yeah.
To a T. They did a quick sketch, but they left this for me. So what does that tell you? There's something out there.
I want to know if you see something like that, what makes you think it eats fruit?
I don't know. I mean, maybe these people were around since they were young or whatever, and that's what they were feeding them. Maybe that's what they're used to.
Maybe.
Mhm.
Maybe. That is just, I mean, to go to all the trouble to dig the staircase and have the platter and refill
Yeah.
it.
And it was
You
so
know.
intricate, Tex. They had this big open area, and then they had made the staircase out of mud. It's like they dug it out to create the space, and they made it out of mud. They encased it in the mud and built it up step by step. And then there was like a pedestal where they kept the platter on there.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, how odd,
Yeah.
right? Now, I know what you guys
Yeah.
are thinking. Like, you would think a dog man would eat only meat, but let's look at the kind
Well,
of
my
wolf,
dog eats vegetables.
the maned wolf. The maned wolf absolutely has to eat a type of fruit or it can die. So can we factor that into Dogman studies somehow? I think so.
Well, I mean, look at your, like I said, my dog eats vegetables. He loves
Yeah, so
green
does mine.
beans and broccoli and,
Mhm. Yeah, mine
so-
does too. Duke loves vegetables. He'll go crazy over vegetables and fruits.
yeah.
So,
Wow, man.
mhm.
And Ella asked if there was a camera around. That's a great descriptive picture.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, guys. I mean, you can tell it's an old picture. It was out there, but just the way they did a quick sketch to show me what's out there. Like Ashley said, I also found strange structures when I went out there. Yeah, there was a place where it's not too far from where this fruit was, Tex. There's a cave dug into the wall. And I've only gone a few feet into that cave, but you can see that it goes all the way down and actually leads out to where there's this tunnel, like a drainage tunnel that's at an angle, but it's a perfect angle for something to crawl out of or crawl into. So,
Well, I would be very, very tempted to strap a GoPro on a radio-controlled four-wheel drive little truck.
yeah. I mean, I don't go out there at night. I believe enough to know don't go out there at night by yourself. Be careful. So it's pretty interesting stuff.
Oh, you got me wanting to come out there and go with you.
I think you should. The invitation's open, Tex.
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
Mhm.
I know Tex would be all over that one.
You should come out. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll be the dummy and strapped to with the GoPro strapped to me.
Well,
Yeah,
someone to ferret the cave, so I'll tie a rope around your waist, Tex, and if things get hairy, just say, drop the rope, Ryan, and I'll go. I'm like, bye.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you ain't pulling my big ass out nowhere unless I'm hooked to a truck. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, hey, Rob, you can come out, man. You can be our little ferret. We'll send you down.
I would not, yeah, I'll be the bait, I guess.
Yeah, there
Maggie,
you go.
Maggie, once again.
Thanks, Maggie. You know what? There's a Maggie and a Margie. I thought I made a mistake. Thanks to both the M's, the Maggies and the Margies, for their super stickers. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff I've found, Tex, that's really, it's hair raising. It makes you wonder what's going on out there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I do have pictures. I can send you guys photos.
I mean, that is crazy. I mean, one, what are the odds that you're going to stumble across that?
Right.
And two, what are the odds that it's going to be the exact thing that you experienced?
Mm-hmm.
From what we can tell.
You want to hear something even more interesting, Tex?
No, absolutely.
There was when I was investigating one day, I think Ashley was on the phone with me when this happened. I was by myself, okay? And where I go, there's really nobody there. This guy came out of nowhere. Like, he came down the hill, and he said he was a paranormal investigator, right? And I was like, oh, well, that's cool, and I didn't tell him who I was or what I was doing there. And he tells me, hey, be careful going down this particular river red branch right here, this branch off, because there's something down there. And I was like, well, what's down there, man? I mean, coyotes, javelina. And he's like, no. He's like, I saw a pairing of what looked like bipedal hyenas with a baby. They were eating a javelina down there, so don't go there by yourself. And I'm thinking, oh, you saw what I've seen. And I did go check that out eventually, and there was a dead javelina down there that looked like it was feasted upon. So this guy, this total stranger that had never seen me before, he didn't know who I was. He told me he saw something hyena-like down there. So what does that say? I mean, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yep. And we got Lene Perkins in here and Shane. Hey, Miss Lene. Hey, brother Shane.
Yeah, we were actually talking about the other day with Shane about the difference between he mentioned it in chat, and I wanted to talk to him about it, but he was mentioning in chat the differences between dogmen and werewolves, and my question is, how do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think because really the only way we're going to know is if we're there to see the transformation from man to beast and back again.
I'm not sure. The more I think about it and the more I get into it, I'm almost convinced that there's not a difference.
I mean, there might not be. Because
we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
These things come in a lot of different variations. Yes. I have a theory as to why. But
let's hear it. What's your theory, Tex?
Well, okay, it has to do with the Great Flood. Okay. What if these things didn't die out during the flood for some reason? Okay, maybe a few of them survived.
Okay.
And that back in the day, they were these super intelligent deities, things like Osiris.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Great Flood comes along and almost wipes them out. Oh. To replenish their species, they've got to breed with other canines.
Okay.
And that's why we see all these different variations. I've seen a picture of one that looked like a schnauzer.
It could be. I mean,
wow. I mean, you saw the hyena one. I've got my version. You've got the German Shepherd. You've got the Doberman Pinscher thing, the jackal looking one, the coyote. Yeah. It just goes on and on and on.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And what if that's and also that's why we see the dumbed down version of them. As intelligent as they appear to be, they're not these super intelligent beings that they once were.
So it was kind of like a return to innocence for them in a way, because they lost all the advances that they had made, went back to a simpler time.
Right.
That makes sense. I can get on board with that.
Instead of evolving, they de-evolved. Because they didn't have a choice.
Yeah. All right.
And that leads to. I think they're physical. Okay. I don't think that they. And this is my thoughts on Bigfoot too. I don't think, and there's a lot of you out in our chat that disagree with me, and I've always said that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always said if this stuff happens to me and I witness it, I'm going to be the first one to jump on here and do a show. Go, look, guys, this damn
Right.
thing of mine spoke to me, and that's all there was to it. It walked through a tree and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
I have not experienced that. Okay, so I'm still in the physical camp, I guess you could say.
So am I. That's where I'm at. So
Okay.
Yeah,
So
you know, I go ahead, Sux.
so what if that's why we see so many variations of these creatures? Why, you know, and why we see, like I said, the dumbed down version of them.
that's a great theory. I think that's definitely a possibility, Tex. I really do. Excellent theory.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And you know, text too. When you were gone for a brief 3 minutes, we were talking about the werewolves and dogmen. And Ryan, of course, came up about the physiology too. How can being a shapeshifter, the human body can only change. You know, you change from a human into a werewolf. It just doesn't seem physiologically, I guess is the word, natural. Now, maybe you could change once and stay that way, which we thought perhaps is a possibility. But Jean in chat has a quick, cool question here. And she asked, what makes you think werewolves are made and not born?
You know, that's a great question. That's a very good question. But I mean, you got to go back to the werewolf mythology. Werewolves, by legend, are not born. They're created by a curse, by someone getting bitten, somebody drinking water from a wolf's paw print during a full moon, sleeping naked during a summer full moon. So every werewolf mythology says it's created. Yeah, it's created. Whereas, you know, it's not born naturally like we are. So we're all seeing what we believe on what the lore has taught us.
You know, it's just like you have certain people that believe that them and Bigfoot work together. You have other people that believe they're mortal enemies. You have people that believe the Bigfoot tame them like dogs. I mean, you know, they run the whole gambit on the theory.
Yeah, you get some interesting theories out there.
Yeah, and I can't sit here and say any of them are right or wrong.
Right, none of us can.
You know, but what I can say is that I believe, and there's a big difference between believing and knowing.
Yes.
Okay. You may have been loping along and believed that werewolves are real or dogmen were real, whatever. When you walked into that buddy's backyard, you now know.
Yep.
Okay. So all of us have these beliefs. Okay. Some of us are either blessed or cursed to know certain things.
Right. Depending on your point of view.
Figured out which one it is yet. What's everybody saying now? Blurst? What is it?
Yeah, pretty much. The blurst.
Yeah.
Blessing curse at the same time.
Yeah. But we've got to remain open-minded enough to have discussions with people that believe in all different versions of it.
Yes.
You know, because if we run across, if something like this happens to us, one of these things, we're going to go, okay, I know a little about this. I'm not completely dumb on the issue.
Yeah.
You know, knowledge is power, and that's the way I see it. And we're, you know, we're arming ourselves with knowledge. The more discussions with, you know,
that's your best weapon.
Because
your best weapon is knowledge.
Yeah.
Yep. That's why we got to share knowledge and communicate and, you know, learn to step outside ourselves and learn a little bit more than what we already believe.
You know,
and go ahead, Rob.
And I was going to say too, I think you're both right. And I think that, you know, there's so many different versions of the dog, man. You hear about the flesh and blood ones. We've all heard the stories, and I get a lot of stories sent to me. We've all heard the ones about this natural being on all fours running alongside a car, right? 30, 40 miles an hour, peering into the car, kind of giving them the glare, and then just then boom, it's gone, right? Or the car just accelerates past it, and the same
Mhm.
ones all of a sudden it goes from all fours to two legs, and then you
Right.
see the ones about a dog-like beast staring in a window with red eyes. Some
Mhm.
people associate it maybe with a devil or a devil dog we've all heard about. So there's
Mhm.
so many different things, and again, I've talked about earlier about the bipedal canine. A lot of people talk about. I still think that our government has something to do with manufacturing these, and I also think they're natural, but I think they're supernatural. And there's other people who believe they're aliens, right? I mean, you can't even disregard that. You got to
Well, let
take
me
it all
present
into
this
account.
theory. Let me bring this theory to the table. What if they are like ultra terrestrials? What if they are both physical and supernatural in a sense? Like they come over from some other plane and they're physical when they're here, but when they disappear, they're not physical anymore.
And that's a very good. I mean, it's like we were talking about earlier. That's as possible as anything else that we put out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what
Yeah.
we have to accept right now is that we all have theories, ideas, and conjecture. And what we
Yep.
have to admit is one simple thing. We just don't know.
Yep. Now I do think there's people out there that know beyond a
Mhm.
shadow of a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
But we aren't privy to that information
No.
yet.
No.
And honestly, I don't know if I would want to be
Honestly,
because I
I
don't know
don't
what
think I
comes
would.
along with that.
No, not just that, but I think, what we have to look at too. We're all here because of mysteries, yes? We all want answers to these questions. So what happens on that day that we have all these questions, these answers to these questions? We're not going to have anything more to do. That's going to be it for us.
Yeah.
That's going to be the curtain call.
And I've been asked before, if you had the answers that you're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
what would you do? What would you
Yeah.
do then? Are you going to go
Yeah, what
looking
would
for
you do?
something else, or are you going to continue doing, honestly, I'm not going to quit looking because I love having the experiences,
Yeah.
and just because, okay, say they drop the the knowledge bomb on us tomorrow, and they said all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff is real, Bigfoot's real. Let's just take Bigfoot. And it's really sad when we're going to have a normal conversation because it's about Bigfoot. When let's just talk Bigfoot here for just a second. If they drop the knowledge bomb on us and they said, okay, these creatures are real,
Mm-hmm.
is that going to stop me from researching them? Absolutely not. If nothing else, that's going to fire me up even more.
Yeah.
One,
Same here.
because I can walk in everybody and wear my Bigfoot shirt and said, see, I told your ass. But the evidence that we're pulling from the field just here lately is just
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal to me.
Yeah.
And by we, I mean our group. And it's man, I just feel like I'm just so close. I can just almost touch it. It's
Almost taste it, huh?
yeah, it's just right. I mean, we pulled handprints the last 2 trips out.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I mean, so it's just, oh, you were standing 20 feet away from me, watching me over the side of over the top of a truck at my campfire. Damn it, come on in and say hi.
Well, let me ask you this, Tex. Let me ask you this. So if we got answers to the mystery of Bigfoot and Dogman, would there be any mysteries out there that would be the equivalent of these things to you, or would everything seem dull and boring and repetitive if we knew the answers to Bigfoot and Dogman?
No, not at all. It
No?
would not. No, not at all. Like I said, I think it would just fire me up even more, and
Good.
I would be more interested because
Very good.
Because now, say you get those answers and you find out, or it goes live, however, per se, and what you're looking for is now accepted.
Yeah.
Okay. That gives you access to even more information.
That's true. Very true.
So, and it's not like I would want to stop having these experiences. Like I said, I'm not.
Yeah, no.
you know, it's just. Thank you, Lene.
Yes,
Miss
thank you so
Lene.
much. Thank you
That's
so
one
much.
of my
Man, y'all
favorite
are on
people.
fire. What did y'all take a generous pill before y'all walked in the door tonight? This is. I'm telling you guys, this is. You know, we have nights like this, and people are just, you know, giving and giving and giving, and in today's world, that means so much for
You
these
have a
people.
great crowd here, man. You got a great group of people right here.
We have the best audience across any
Yeah.
podcast,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
In
Yeah,
fact,
you do.
it is
Well, Miss
so
Lene is
awesome.
one of mine too, so I stake claim to Miss Lene. She's mine.
No. Yes, she's
One
awesome.
of my
Thank you,
favorite
Miss.
people.
Thank you, Miss Lene. Yeah, and everybody else in chat. Once again, I'll give you a shout out towards the end of the show. Once again, and you know what, too, and then answering your question around how Tex answered it, yeah, I'd still love the mystery. If Bigfoot, Dogman were discovered, okay. I'm still, there's other things. There's so much out there to explore. There's so many cryptids out there, you guys, that we might just look past because of our infatuation with Bigfoot and Dogman.
Oh,
You know
I
how many
won't.
times?
I'm already looking into another one,
Yeah,
Rob. I'm looking into this guy, the
absolutely.
Wendigo. You know, I
Yeah,
mean,
you got that.
You
Gugwe,
think that's a
Gugwe.
cryptid? Now that's a good. See, now that's a question I want you to answer. Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
No, but I was just going to say, kind of sentimenting what you said, what both of you had said. I will always be involved with this. And another part of me is, for certain people, like, I don't think that cryptids are like all these killers, as a lot of people will
no.
say. I think that some, perhaps, that we don't even know about should probably be removed, right? I mean, I don't know if there is a killer dog man. Let's say that was found. There's this one. It's a predator and it's responsible for 411. Well, guess what? We don't need to deal with that one, right? I mean, we know about it. Let's go find it. But there's so much more in the world to explore. And really, just because you find, let's say you found a dog man existed or Bigfoot. First of all, they do exist. It's been proven. We know they exist from experiences ourselves. People would tell you they exist. Oh God, don't get right side of the Wendigo. Well, Ryan and I talked about that. We're going to have to talk about that probably as we're getting close. Again, I think the mystery, there's even more mysterious things about this. What I hope would not happen, though, Ryan and Tex and everyone listening, if science comes forward, yes, Bigfoot does exist and has, and we've known about it for decades. I don't want to see them captured. I don't want them seen in laboratories, killed, dissected, and experimented on, which I think, unfortunately, you guys, if it's not been done already, it would be more apt to more probing, dissection, so that part of me kind of wants to make them still remain a mystery.
Yeah, that's where I stand too.
I don't want them killed in experimentation. Again, I think it does happen, but I think it'd be more prevalent if it was all of a sudden, Bigfoot exists just like an elephant.
I think that's why they would admit they're real. I think they would do that, like tell everybody, oh, they are a real thing, just so they could do that kind of stuff, put them in zoos and keep them in labs. I think that would be their motivation behind it. I really do.
Yeah, that'd be sad. I would not want to see Bigfoot in a zoo.
My main concern is for the creatures. Don't get me wrong, but my secondary concern is for the people, because you're going to have some that panic. You're going to, but the ones that worry me are the ones that find out that these new animals or these new species exist. I need to put a head on the wall.
Yeah. The trophy hunters.
The experimentation and stuff, it's already happening. I got sad news for you. In my mind, it's already happening. It's been happening for years. But it's, to me, that poses the poachers. And that's what I'm going to call them. And God forbid that they put out where you can buy a license to hunt these things. They've already tried that with Bigfoot in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that had went through? Now, you would have all these people running around in this 30-day period trying to capture one of these things alive. Can you imagine the monstrosity of the traps that they would be getting? Can you imagine the amount of people that would fall into these damn traps?
Yes, right.
Yeah. It's a suicide run.
Not to mention the other wildlife.
Yeah.
So
many innocent things would be punished and killed because of that.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I think Texas, right? The fatalities of human beings in the woods, in the forest would go up.
Yeah. Oh, exponentially, man. They just jump up.
I mean, you're going to have these, local yokels out there trying to, like I said, put a head on the wall. And I got to be honest with you. Back in the day, in the 90s, that was my mindset.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
what
yeah.
Changed your mind?
With Dogman anyway. After what I saw, me and some friends had sat down and we were planning an op for a lack of better term.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And I mean, we were going to go out where I saw this thing and try our damnedest to put this thing down.
Wow.
But over the years, it came with learning more about the whole subject, not just Dogman, but because I was convinced that this thing was an abomination and needed to be put down.
So you find a form of acceptance then is what happened, Tex?
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow.
Learning can be amazing. Say again?
Learning can be an amazing thing, can't it?
It can, because, I went from these things are talk about Bigfoot, for a second. I went from thinking these things were an ape to thinking that there's more to them. And I personally think that somewhere down the evolutionary chain, adaptation chain, whatever, however you want to look at it, I don't care.
Okay.
Somewhere down the chain, we went right and they went left.
Okay.
I think we're related at some point. I do think that they are, just because of, if you look back in the history of the Native Americans and the relationship they've had with these things, I do think they're a type of people. Very, very primitive. I do not believe that they have all these supernatural powers, because they don't have to.
No.
Okay. People do not understand how something can disappear without a trace and be perfectly natural. I could hide a 51-ton tank in a stand of trees, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, you could.
I mean, when it comes to camouflage, these are the experts of experts. All right.
They're the ninjas.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't think at this point in my life, let me put it this way. At this point in my life, I have not seen that evidence that they're anything other than a physical creature.
That's fair.
Okay. As far as intelligence, and I've said this 1,000 times on here, as far as intelligence level goes, I put them up there with killer whales, because most people do not understand how intelligent a killer whale is.
Oh yeah, orcas are brilliant. They devise tactics, hunting tactics, and division tactics.
And look at them; they're self-aware. They speak. They grieve.
Yeah.
They mate for life. They take revenge.
Yes.
I mean, we see, if I told you, if I was having a conversation about Bigfoot and I said they do this, they do this, they do this, then they do this, and you're going, yeah, you're right. They do all that stuff. I just explained a killer whale to you.
Yeah.
And I admire these people that want that's, I'm not going to say you're not mind speaking or having a relationship with these things, because I don't know. Okay. I'm not there yet, but my concern is that it's not Bigfoot that you're communicating with.
Yes, I share that same concern, Tex.
So
I'm right there with you.
you know, because a spirit will tell you, or a spirit or demon will tell you anything to get its foot in the door. It will
Yep.
take your confidence. It will play good. It will play nice. You know, it will pretend to be somebody you loved. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah, it goes
Yeah.
back to
Be
that
careful,
Tulpa
folks.
effect I was talking about. Remember that,
Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah, I remember.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I remember that.
Manifestation. And, you know, too, like Texas saying, to your point, I think there's things out there that can, again, manifest. If they know, they can play on your emotions. When we're talking about malevolent spirits or malevolent forces, they
Mhm.
can they can shapeshift into whatever your mind perceives, right? Whatever
Yep.
you're looking for, and they can trick you. And I do
Yes.
believe that exists. I do. And I do believe that you have to be very careful when you're out there. Whether you've got 40 years experience or 4 months, you've always got to be aware of what you're dealing with, because you could be
Yes.
going on sacred ground. Now, we're going to talk a little about the Wendigo really quick. And I just want to
Yes.
chime in. I think that Bigfoot, I think it's a flesh and blood creature, but I do believe it does have some supernatural element. I think that they can walk through these portals,
Mm-hmm.
not porthole, as Tex would say. I was going to say porthole for Tex. I think they could do that. I mean, you can't explain something appearing on one end. There was a story that I did. There was a Bigfoot, a man, a father, and the son. They were fishing or whatever, fishing like I was, right? And all of a sudden it disappears, whatever. And then they were radioed, and found out there was another report of a Bigfoot 50 miles north of where they were, which would happen right around the same time that they seen this thing. Now, was it two? Very well could have been. But
Mm-hmm.
when they described it, it was kind of the same color, same height, everything like that. I did a story on that not too, maybe a couple months ago. So I think they have an innate ability. I'm not going to call them ghosts, but I think there's a supernatural element in them. But now you were just alluding to about the Wendigo. I know Tex missed some of this show that we were on, and I think now these things are what, from what I remember, they are supernatural, like cannibals or something. They take, they feed off their family, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so what the Wendigo is it's an evil spirit. It's an evil spirit that's brought on by breaking certain cultural taboos. Now, the most popular one is cannibalism, but there's other ways that the Wendigo is brought on. One can actually become a Wendigo by dreaming of a Wendigo. So if you actually have a nightmare where you see a Pewaganok, that's a spiritual guide in the form of like a porcupine or an owl, that could be a sign that the Wendigo is coming. And by having these dreams, you're opening your astral plane to the Wendigo. It brings it into you, thus you become possessed. So the Wendigo, I don't believe, should fall into a cryptid category at all. It's something that's 100% supernatural. It's probably more closer to what most people would call a demon. Okay, because there's nothing good about them. You can't interact in any gentle way. You're not going to be friends with it. It's not going to gift you. Okay, it's there to take over your body and cause this endless hunger where you're eating your friends, your family, everybody in your village and tribe, and you're even like chewing your own lips off because you're constantly hungry.
Man,
you know, so
now was that a hex too? Like a hex too was passed down, correct?
Yeah. Yep. It's a curse that just keeps going and going and going until somebody kills you or kills the person that put the hex on you.
Well, that's the same. See, what I've always, what gets me is there's so many, what am I trying to say here? There's so many things that are a lot alike between the Wendigo and the Wendigo, the Skinwalker, and what is it, the Loot-Guru or the Rougarou?
The Rougarou.
The Rougarou, because they're all curses.
Well, the Skinwalker, not so much. You'd be surprised.
But you have to like kill somebody you love, and
yeah, you do have to do that.
The cannibalism is involved, and it's the same thing with the Rougarou.
Mm-hmm.
It's what, 101 day curse that can be put on somebody and passed on.
Yes.
So
you can become a Rougarou by looking one in the eyes.
Could this be something that is maybe the same? Maybe it is the same thing.
I don't think it's the same thing. I think it might be derived
or a variation
from
of a curse
energy.
or something.
I think it's similar energy. I do. I think it's, some kind of energy that's in this world that, for each belief, it's different to an extent. But what they have in common is that we're all doomed if we fall for that belief, if we fall for that energy.
Yep.
And
Strangeland, he always calls me out, and I love it. What makes you know that someone doesn't communicate or have not spoken to people?
Well, we didn't say we know.
Well, and that's just what, and that's if that's how it sounded, that's not how it was meant.
Mhm.
I'm not saying I know at all. This is again going back to beliefs and knowing.
This is sharing of beliefs. This is a sharing of ideas, the exchange of ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll even go on to say that I know that, and I will say the one person I know has had communications, I believe what Robin McCrae's told me about my encounter, because she told me things that no one would knew except me. Everyone knows about my encounter story, but when I talked to her privately about her communications with the Sasquatch, which was my Sasquatch, and I did a show on it, by the way, a pretty cool show. Things she told me, you guys, I never told anybody ever in my encounter story.
Wow.
Yeah, she was telling me that she was speaking telepathically with the Bigfoot that I saw in 2018. Now, of course, when I hear that, right, I'm like, okay. But the more, and I talk to this woman quite frequently. We've become friends, and the more and more I talk to her, I know she's communicated with something, because what she told me, you guys, again, never told anybody. She knew it. So, and on the same fence, maybe she can do it.
Yeah.
But there are people that, hey, you know what? I think she's one of the lucky ones, and I think a lot of other people think that they might be, like Tex says, and that's, I think, the more the norm than not the norm, because I think people have these gifts with the Sasquatch. Hell, you hear about the legends of Sasquatch talking with the tribals back then. If you read those stories, so I think that something goes on. At the same time, I think it also goes on with evil as well. Just like now talking about, we're just ending the show here on the Wendigo. Did I hear, if I remember correctly, the only way you can kill the one that, there's a certain way you can kill them. Is that correct? You just can't blow their head off. They're spiritual, or they're whatever they are. What
you have to do with a Wendigo is you actually have to dig its heart out. You have to use a dagger that's made specifically for this. It has to be pure silver. You have to dig out its heart. You have to burn the heart, put it in a box, and bury the box in hollow ground. If you don't do that, the Wendigo is not going to die. It's going to come back, and, well, since you tried to kill it, you're on its hit list.
God.
And something that a lot of people like the Wendigo, it doesn't have the antlers like you see on this plush. That's not what the Wendigo looks like. The whole antlers thing came from an illustration on Algernon Blackwood's book. So this isn't how the Algonquins or the Cree or the Ojibwe described it.
I don't know. I mean, what are you going to do if you run across one of these critters?
Well, you can get some blessings. You can find someone that, has the Algonquin belief or the Cree belief and get special blessing ways put on you, and do the shaking tent ceremony. And you can break the aura that's going to draw the Wendigo to you.
Yeah, but
and
I mean,
if it doesn't have you, then
if you run into this thing out in the damn woods, and I mean, what I guess what I'm asking is, what can you do? Is there anything you can take with you, or something you can do if you happen to run into one of these things?
Yeah,
like
actually,
we're doing all this research in these godforsaken places,
Well, if you want repellent, it's very simple, Tex. It's a very odd little thing. Beef tallow.
Really?
Beef fat. Yeah, beef fat is actually considered sacred because what it does, when you heat it up and you eat it, it thaws out any cold you have in your body. To the Wendigo, it symbolizes thawing out and melting its ice heart. So the Wendigo will avoid that. And you can get special talismans.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's certain talismans that you can get from different tribes that are repellent for the Wendigo. Kind of like we use crucifixes in Christianity. They have certain symbols that will keep away.
And that's something that that's something that I always I don't know if struggle with is the correct word, because I am a man of faith. I'm a man of God, and where's that line? Where's that line of stuff we're not supposed to mess with? You know, but if wouldn't, and I think it would. I think if you're going to protect yourself from pretty much everything out there, I think your faith is going to do it.
Yes, I agree.
Know? So I guess I'm answering my own question. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as far as like knowing what not to mess with, I think that's up to us as individuals. Whatever we feel too afraid of is something we shouldn't be tampering with.
Yeah.
Did I miss the part where the Wendigo did they only mess with you if you're infringing on their sacred or on their ground? I don't want to say sacred ground. Perhaps it is. Or is that their only, like you and I, if we're in the woods, they see us, are we doomed?
Probably.
Okay,
probably.
So
I mean,
of all the things we've spoken about today, that's the thing you definitely don't want to come across.
Yeah, no, a Wendigo is something you don't ever want to bring into your existence. Okay, it's something that you want to avoid like the plague, because I mean, these things, they don't care about you. Okay, you're not a good person to them. You're just a food source, and since they're constantly hungry, it doesn't matter who they ate before you. You're on the menu next. Sorry.
Well, I got to agree with D-Worm. Prayer and ammo take care of a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, prayer will definitely work in a Wendigo's case, but ammo, not so much.
Not in the Wendigo, but a combination of the two, it ain't going to hurt.
Right.
And that also goes back to, D-Worm says prayer, absolutely. But you know what? Referring back, right, Ryan, to the old vampire movies, you first have to believe. It's your intent, right? I mean, if you don't believe in God and start spewing the Our Father, you ain't going to get any help.
Yeah, like the vampire said in Fright Night, you have to have faith for that to work.
Yeah, when you have the cross.
A lot of people are bringing that up these days. Good grief,
man!
And it's so true.
That's true to an extent, saying their name, but that's more for the tribes. The Algonquin, the Cree, the Ojibwe, it's their spiritual and religious belief that when you talk about them, it's bringing them to you. So since we're not part of that religious belief, we can talk about them. We're okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
like Ashley said,
Wendigo using incendiaries. I like it.
Like Ashley said, intent is key. Okay, if you're not intending to draw them in, then you're going to be all right. But if you're sitting there going, hey, I want to bring a Wendigo my way, of course, I'm going to be sitting behind you going, what, are you stupid? But if you're saying that and you keep saying Wendigo, 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 you're going to bring it to you eventually. It's intent. So intent is integral. It's vital.
Where would you be more apt than to run into a Wendigo? I mean, like text goes, Brown Springs has got everything. Could it be a national park, a state park, a park? Your woods in your backyard? Are they just around First Nations or holy ground? I mean, they're not a holy creature, of course.
I'd say more like in Canada. That's where the whole Wendigo thing really began, was up in the Canadian territories, So what we did is we took the Wendigo and we kind of made it transplanted into our belief so everybody thinks they see them. But really, Wendigo weren't as all that common as people like to think. It was a very rare occurrence that, it did happen if you read their history. But it wasn't an everyday thing like Bigfoot. You could say Bigfoot's an everyday occurrence. But the Wendigo wasn't that common. It was always up in Canada. But, I don't think we have to worry too much, guys.
We're coming up on almost 2 hours. I got to ask you, Ryan, you've heard about Portal, where it's Chatham, Alaska, where a lot of supposed it was Bigfoot, maybe Gugwe took out that whole village. Now, I'm thinking, and it's never been proven. Nothing's ever really proven. It's all these theories and conjecture. Now, I'm just thinking, now, of course, you said Canada. But when I think Alaska, I just think that's like the unknown, the last frontier, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's probably filled with 23-foot, 50-foot cryptids, for all we know.
Oh, God, I hope you don't get that big.
Such a vast, well, I'm being a little exaggerative, but perhaps a Wendigo is responsible for part of that, right? I don't know.
I think when I actually think of that story, what mine goes to is the Genosqua. the stone giants. Because those guys, they were also known to be man killers. Okay, these things were so smart. They wore armor so that the arrowheads didn't work on them. And they're big, burly badasses. They're tough. They know what they're doing. And I think if there's one cryptid to place in Port Chatham, it's Chinosqua.
Well, I've kind of started doing a new thing, and I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, Ryan. I'm starting to end these shows with a question to everybody that they can answer after the show in the comments.
Okay.
And my last one was, Bigfoot. Do you think it's, flesh and blood, or do you think it's paranormal?
I think that it's
now. Wait a minute. No, I'm just giving you that as an example.
Okay.
I haven't put you over the barrel yet. I'd like for you to come up with a question.
Oh, okay. Tex. Wow. That's that's rough.
It's going to be a good one, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay. Hey, let's ask this question. Where do you guys draw the lines between cryptids and the supernatural? What certain elements do you look for that would actually separate them into the cryptid flesh and blood category or put them in the paranormal category?
There you go. Now remember, folks, don't answer in the chat. We don't want you to answer in chat. Answer after the show in the comments.
No, Tex, you don't get to get away with this. You get to message me on Facebook or whatever and give me your answer.
We'll give your answers too. Tex will get the answer to you. I'll get you my answer. And you know what, Ryan, Monster Radio, again, I love having you on, man. Such a fantastic show. I know everybody in chat. We had a record well over 112 people in chat. That's 50 in both chat rooms, by the way. So thanks to everybody out there, man.
You guys are awesome, man.
Thank you ever so much for everybody. I gotta say, Lene, thank you. These for all the super chatters. Lene, thank you. Donnie Joe, thank you 4 times. Margio, Maggio, Lily Pond, Brenda, Wink at Me, Anella, and C. Campbell, thank you for the super chats. We do appreciate it. It was a great show. You can find Ryan on Monster Radio. Ryan, where else can we find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Just look up Ryan Tremblay. You'll know it's me because you'll see all my postings of monsters like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, Godzilla. You'll see my artwork. You'll know it's me. You can bug me wherever you want. And please do bug me. I encourage people to interact with me and contact me and talk to me. I love talking to everybody.
Yeah, and I will say on one other thing is, Ryan does encourage that because, again, we're friends on Facebook. And Ryan, you do post some pretty cool questions. I've answered a few of them, and you always like to start up a conversation, which I like about you because they're always something that, makes you think out of the box. And that's what, the purpose of this show is really, and the shows we do, thinking out of the box. We can disagree. We don't have to agree. We can even have a little argument, but you know what? It's all for the better of what we're all doing, the data, the information to share. Because if we're all not sharing these things, despite our differences, it still helps this research, these shows, whatever you want to call it, move forward. Because we want to continue to go forward and not backward, because we don't get involved with the dirty laundry. We're just, we tell it how it is, baby.
That's how it should be.
Thanks to everybody in chat. Tonight is Tuesday. Yeah, tonight's Tuesday. So Wednesday, everybody, Jason McLean, Questions Everything. Check him out. Me and Donnie show. We'll be doing something. Am I missing some text? Today's Tuesday. So yeah, that's just Wednesday. So go check that out. I'm going to look for the exit button. Once again, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody. So we have the best chat people. We have you all. Love you.
Man, you're awesome.
You guys are awesome. Thanks once again. We'll see you next time on
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Ryan.